Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu leaving the White House after meeting with President Trump yesterday and briefly meeting with Vice President J.D. Vance. The Prime Minister discussed hostage negotiations with the president and addressed these talks with Fox Business's Maria Bartiromo.
We are talking about a 60-day ceasefire in which half the live hostages and half of the deceased hostages would be returned to Israel by these Hamas monsters. I think there's a good chance we'll have this ceasefire, and that'll get us closer to the goal that I set from the beginning.
Fox News contributor and former CIA station chief Dan Hoffman joins me now. Dan, good morning to you. So what do you think about this? Do you think that a breakthrough in these ceasefire talks is a possibility here?
Yeah, I think this 60-day ceasefire might be an opportunity for both sides to meet halfway. Hamas would like Israel to withdraw fully from Gaza, and they want a permanent ceasefire so they can reconstitute. Israel has decapitated Hamas leadership. They've degraded Hamas military significantly, but they haven't quite finished the job. And so Israel is not going to do what Hamas wants. But this is a potentially good opportunity for us to secure the release of 8 to 10 hostages who are still alive, albeit in return for roughly 1,000 Palestinian prisoners. But it's a hard diplomatic process, and good on the Trump administration for sticking with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Dan, also, what do you think about this new position that Hezbollah is not a terror group, it's a political party? Could that be an effort to try and include Lebanon in the Abraham Accords?
It could be. Look, I think if you can disarm Hezbollah and ensure that they're no longer able to conduct terrorist operations, which is what Israel has done, then you're going to enable the Lebanese government to take back control from an Iranian proxy in their country that was doing so much damage to politics in Lebanon, not only Lebanon's ability to engage on the world stage. So that and also Syria, those are potential opportunities for Israel to expand its relationships in the Middle East.
Okay, so moving over to the Russia-Ukraine war, and Dan, President Trump has some things to say when it comes to Vladimir Putin. Listen to this.
Look, I'm very unhappy with them. There's no reason for this. We get a lot of thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless. The Senate is passing and passed a very, very tough sanction. It's an optional bill. It's totally at my option. They passed it totally at my option, and to terminate totally at my option.
And the president also said that he's going to be sending defensive weapons to Ukraine because Russia right now, they're launching the largest attacks on Ukraine since the war began. So what do you think about this shift from President Trump, and how significant is it when it comes to the direction this war goes?
Yeah, look, all the weapons Ukraine receives are defensive. They're in a defensive war, defending their territorial integrity and their independence from a brutal Russian invasion and onslaught. The president has tried everything he could, including most recently with a phone call last week with Vladimir Putin, to get Putin to stop the war. And what Putin does is propose negotiations, as they just did yesterday in Turkey, while at the same time launching massive strikes, including last night, hundreds of drone strikes and missile strikes on Ukraine. Putin's strategic objective of overthrowing the government of Ukraine at incredibly high cost to the Russian army, as well as obviously Ukrainian civilians, hasn't changed. He wants to install a puppet regime, and the only way to get him to stop I think, is what the president is talking about, rearming Ukraine and ensuring that they have the ability to defend themselves. That's what could bring Putin to the negotiating table. Putin knows that President Trump campaigned on ending the war in a day, and that's the last thing Putin wants to do. He wants to diminish President Trump's standing on the world stage because he knows the United States has been a defender of democracy, and that's what scares Putin the most.
Yeah, and that is why the president has turned around that decision on sending the weapons to Ukraine. He says they're getting hit very hard right now. They need to be able to defend themselves, so hopefully they will be able to do just that. Dan, thank you for joining us.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.